Hi, I'm Kelly Bowen from Lifestyle Finance Australia, and I have a high vibe finance brokerage where we do things a little bit differently and we support the new earth coaches and leaders get paid in full from day one. And I've got the privilege of being here with my ex-business partner and also business coach who's taught me everything I know about business, the wonderful Miss
Gaby Kowalski. I'm a business ascension and abundance coach and mentor, and also her best friend, which you forgot to drop in there.
That's the most important bit.
That should be at the very, very top of the credentials. And so today we wanted to chat with you about how to go beyond the realities that we currently have, that we're calling financial abundance into our businesses, and to sort of share a bit of our story as to how we expanded in our own rights to call in even more abundance along our journey as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as business owners. And specifically, this message goes out to those that are coaches and healers, offering seminars, offering coaching programs, offering, informational-based programs, not programming.
Programming, bit of both.
Bit of both. Well, yes, that's right.
Or education-based products, really,
Yep.
and particularly ones that are more of a premium offer.
Yep. And first up, we want to invite you to simply tune into a reality where there's even more financial abundance coming in, where you're getting paid even more upfront. Just tune into what it would feel like to expand the amount of cash inside your bank account by 50% even. Feel into if there was 50% more cash coming into your bank account every single month. Allow yourself to stretch that, to allow yourself to stretch into that reality, to feel into how that would ripple out. What else would that make possible in your business? What team members could you then potentially hire, or marketing? How would you expand that? How would that enable you to grow your mission? How would that enable you to live a life of even more beautiful prosperity? What frequency would you then be able to hold more? And how would you serve your clients even more beautifully with that additional amount of abundance coming in all the time, taking care of you so then you can take care of others? And so this is where a few years ago, Kelly and I both we both had a finance brokerage, meaning it was both of us working in the finance brokerage that now she completely has all to herself.
I like all the hand gestures around my box.
and so at that time, I was still growing my coaching business, my seminar coaching business, and one of the biggest challenges that I was facing back then was that about 90% of the beautiful souls I was serving would be taking payment plans. So only about 10% of people would pay up front. And what that meant was that I could effectively sell $100,000 worth of courses in 1 month. However, that wouldn't result with $100,000 coming into my bank account, because some of these people were paying this off over 12 months or 18 months. And so sales were high, however, cash flow wasn't as high. And, that therefore meant that, therefore we're a bit restricted, restricted in what we could do and how far we could go. Then what happened was we'd found a friend of ours.
By accident, really.
Basically stumbled. When you're just walking along and you trip over something.
A little piece of good luck or good news or whatever you want to call it, good fortune.
Good fortune was we discovered that there was a finance product, one of the financiers that was in our umbrella, or under our umbrella.
Yeah, it was. We had it. We just never used to look at it because it was a personal loan and the rates on those are high, and it was like this naughty puppy.
Something we just totally ignored.
It's useless. Why would you
sitting
do
there
that?
And we just ignored it altogether. It was like not there at all. And what we discovered was that particular lender could lend unsecured finance and give people finance loans for, guess what, coaching programs.
Yeah.
And we decided to, give it a go.
Yeah, and think outside the box, and we crashed and burned with it a little bit to begin with, as we were sort of like learning the nuances and like who was the right kind of candidate and client to really I guess, take advantage of it. But once we got a few runs on the board with it,
everything
changed. Like,
within months, literally within months. This was a few years ago. Within months, I just through this medium, which meant that more people that would come in were able to finance, which meant I got paid up front and they were able to pay off the coaching program. Not to me, I didn't have to be a finance company anymore.
You have to manage accounts anymore.
And that's not true, because we still had people going on payment plans that were overseas and that, say, didn't qualify for the finance company's criteria, yet so many more were able to, one, get finance, which meant that they could pay it off over a longer period of time, made it super cheap, super affordable. They could pay it out whenever they wanted to. I got my money up front within, I think it was 3 to 4 months of shifting into this model. I broke through my first $1 million year, which meant $1 million cash profit in 1 year. And that would not have been possible if we didn't have this, because I still would have been in that old reality where 10% of people paid up front, 90% of the people got financed by me. I had to be a finance company and a coach at the same time. So,
yeah. And I think too, like, the $1 million first year received is fucking incredible, and it's amazing, and I really want to acknowledge and honor and celebrate you in that. And I want to expand the conversation into, what did that actually mean for you in business, being able to have that level of cash flow? So what did that do for you in terms of how much more you could expand your message, your impact, and your reach? How much did that allow you to scale with your team, and how much freedom did being able to have that level of cash flow then bring into your life?
Yep, thank you. And I've got a bit of a disclaimer. I had already been building this business for a couple of years, and I had a lot of business experience beforehand and infrastructure. This was just a shift that there was no more sales being made. It was just a shift. This was the only shift that happened, meaning, like, does that make sense? So I didn't have to market more, sell more. The exact same business was able to generate seven-figure cash flow, profit cash flow, where prior to that, we were doing like high multi-six, so I just want to
and it would take anywhere between like 12 to 24 months to be able to receive all of those funds because of the payment plan.
That's
Whereas
right.
this brought it into the instant now.
And now to
it's
answer
like
your question.
rocket fuel behind your business.
That's right, like a rocket of deliciousness landing in the business.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So tell us the cool shit you did with it.
The cool shit I did with it was it really enabled me to scale, like, in such a beautiful way. So I was able to hire an amazing operations manager, online business manager, and hire more coaches, more people. The greatest gift to me is it enabled me to expand the infrastructure so we could serve at a higher level, and for me to acquire a lot more freedom. And from that, for me, like, growth has always been personal ascension, personal growth has always been one of my most favorite things on this planet. And this opened up a platform of more time because, of course, I had a much bigger team taking care of everything. So ultimately, I shifted into a place where I was able to let go of absolutely everything in my business that wasn't my genius and only stayed within my core genius. And I went off traveling the world, with traveling the world and learning from amazing teachers and mentors and spending time with shamans in Peru. And it was a wonderful time where I could work on my frequency, keep working on my ascension, and still deliver in my core genius, which is to deliver, to run seminars, to run events, and not have to do any other little piddly thing, like none of it, where my team would take care of absolutely everything. And this to me is the greatest joy, because when we are functioning purely in our genius, when we're doing what we love, then it just doesn't even feel like work at all. And it did take something to build my beautiful empire to this level. And I'm not going to, the first couple of years were tough. There was so much to do.
Well, we did it hard.
We did.
We
had to build we didn't have a mass amount of capital, so we had to build it through our beautiful blood, sweat and tears. Yep. And this, opening up to a different pathway, to opening up to having us not be the coach and the finance company. Or, you could even be in a different industry watching this. We've got the beautiful videographer.
Giving us the eyebrow raise.
Because he's also able to offer video packages to his clients on finance, where they can finance a whole year worth of video content and pay it off over a much cheaper amount, therefore, grow their businesses, grow their audiences, end up in a completely different income bracket at 12 months later. And to me, it's just, it makes a difference, it makes a difference to be able to have beautiful cash in our mission kingdoms, in our mission empires, as I call them, because then we're able to execute every idea. And now, gosh, like this was years ago. So now the benefit is we're doing I'm excited. I do philanthropic stuff. There's all sorts of projects on the go. There's just so much cool stuff that we get to do. And it all started here. It all started with, we looked outside the box. Yeah. We went beyond what was normal, what was happening in the industry, what everybody else was doing, what was considered, hey, that's how it's done, and...
So what if there could be something else? Yeah, and I think that's it. And even with where we were at the time, if I think back, both of us had just come off the back of burnout. We went from being able to literally burn the candle at both ends in the middle to both barely being able to get through half a day's work. So when this came in, and I think there's a point to
divine timing.
Yeah, divine timing. But I also think
the universe loves us.
It sure does. Yeah. But I think there gets to a point in business where you're at a certain level where you need to scale and you can only serve a certain amount of clients, and then it's at this point where it's almost like you feel like you've spread too thin. And this for us was that thing that created the cash flow to be able to create that space.
Yeah.
And otherwise it's almost like you feel like you get to a glass ceiling, because if you're doing sales of 100K months, but you're only receiving 20K, and then you've got your own overheads and expenditures and marketing budgets and all the rest of it, you're not left with a lot. So knowing that you need to take the next step but not having the cash flow to support you, this really helps with that, because it allows you of what's sitting in your sort of future revenue basket to bring it into the now, so that you can do what you need. Because the more time and energy resources you have available to you, the more that you can impact with it. And by doing this, that's the sort of space that it allows and creates for you as a coach, healer, service provider.
Yeah, and on top of it too, it opens up the doors for for other people to work with us, because our payment plans are usually not long. So finance allows people to pay something off over 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And that means that the repayments are so different that instead of paying $2,000 a month, they're able to pay $500 a month. And so people that normally wouldn't have access or would overcommit and put themselves into scarcity, into scarcity, into stress, aren't doing it. So to me, it's such a win-win-win, situation. And it's made the biggest difference. So watching this, inviting you to check out what Lifestyle Finance does, and if it can support you to, one, reach more people, make your products more available to more people, and for you to have a lot more beautiful money in your bank accounts that you can collect. And then we build treasuries, buffers. Then we've got so much money sitting in our bank accounts that we are totally taken care of for months and months or years. And there's no scarcity. And I know for myself, being a business abundance and ascension coach and mentor, frequency is everything. Yeah. If we're in a frequency of abundance, clients flow in. If we're in a frequency of scarcity, we can do all the things, yet that underlying frequency of I need clients, it doesn't serve, especially not now at this time and point of ascension, planets changing, everything's amplified. The tiniest frequency within our field is creating realities.
Yeah, it sure is. And there's one question I want to ask you, and I'm really curious your thoughts on it. Now, I know you come from finance background, and this is a really smooth transition for you. Where I see coaches that take this on and want to use finance as their main way of being paid, the challenge is breaking the habit of offering the in-house payment plan, because it feels safe and it feels like they're securing the sale in the moment. So what would you say the shift, the shift in thinking, the shift in feeling around it needs to happen for them to be able to take it on as this is the best path for myself and the client to be able to utilize finance, versus I'm going to just go with my in-house payment plan if you can't pay in full because it feels safe for me?
Yeah, great question. There's a couple of layers to this though. I feel like I'm going to give 2 answers.
Great, yes.
Not one, two. It's always nice to have more than one thing.
Bonus.
You get more than one. So on one hand, it is shifting. This is what I mean by, change exists beyond, fully beyond where we've been playing at before. So one, remembering that we've got to step outside our comfort zone and do something differently, which means we're letting go of something and embracing something new, and getting that this is part of like every other thing that you've ever done where you had to, your ass was this tight and your fists were a little bit clenched and you're like, fuck, and you took the leap and you ended up in a whole new reality. So remembering that it's part of this, yet beyond that, it's making a choice. We get above that we say no to.
Well done.
And thanks. And just a running joke, I tend to say that incorrectly, but I nailed it.
Twice now.
Woo, moving forward. So I'm going to do it again. We get above that we say no to. And so for us, it's going to a place of going, okay, well, let's rewire this. It is this much up front and it's this much on finance, and we also have payment plans, yet they're subject to conditions and approvals. So if if option A and option B don't work, we will assess to see if we can offer you an in-house payment plan. Does this make sense? So it's like this is, and it's like it really is going, limiting the amount of these things that we do, and having that be a standard inside of ourselves. No different to any standard we set in life. Once we have a standard, the standard is set. And therefore, when we're like, okay, cool, this is how we operate, then holding that truth no matter what. And sometimes we might go through a couple of tests. And so knowing, especially if you are like, this video is kind of going out to coaches and healers, like we know what it takes to shift and make a change. We've been trained in this. This is what we're certified in. This is what we bring to other people. And so we're asked to walk our own talk here. And taking this on as a project of, okay, I'm going to sit with whatever comes up for me and alchemize it and transmute it for myself. And ultimately, for me, everything's always linked to mission. Everything. So I know that the actual person is served better by having finance with a finance company than by having it with me, because I'm a coach. I'm not a finance company. Our infrastructure is not even set up for it. Yes, we've got people that check accounts and will follow up with payment plans. You may or may not have that, which means that, if that's not done properly, people aren't being contacted straight away. They may have not have paid for a couple of months, or you're chasing people. We're not finance companies. Also, if they miss a payment and then we've got to defer it, we don't even have the ability to calculate what that means. Often coaches are charging their clients way too much. They think that's funny as.
It's so funny.
It's hilarious because they slap an extra 10 or 20% on, but that's not how finance works. If you were to look at a finance calculator and put in a certain figure, it's like the end result at the end of the loan term isn't an extra 20%. It's not $2,000 more on a $10,000 loan. It's not how it works.
It's not how.
It's probably going to be more like, $788 because the interest reduces. And so we're not trained. We don't have the technology, the software to do this properly. We're actually, often most coaches, this is hilarious, most coaches are charging anywhere between 30 and 60% interest. If you were to use a normal finance calculator, thinking that, but it's only an extra, it's, my
only
goodness.
An extra $1,000, $2,000 on a...
It's just hilarious. So when you look through a finance calculator, you realise you are overcharging your clients massively, that they could get a personal loan at 10 or 15%, pay less, and have the flexibility that their payments can be lower. They can pay it out whenever they want to, with a company that has the infrastructure to actually handle that product. We are not finance companies. We're not.
And you don't want to act that way. Like, you want to be the coach and not the debt collector.
Yeah,
really.
And then sometimes, we're allowing someone to pay something off on a payment plan that we shouldn't. Yeah. Finance companies do their checks for a reason, to see if someone's ecologically able to do something. And sometimes someone will be like, I'll do your program, because secretly they believe that by doing your program,
they'll manifest the money. Or your program will magically solve their problem.
And if it doesn't, guess who? Guess who doesn't get paid?
You.
And so that's one part to it. That's, and then the second part too is you can always bridge this and go, hey, it's $10,000 and we've got finance, which is awesome. You can pay this off at $60 per week. And we've also got internal payment plans where you can pay this off at $1,000 a month. what would be better for you.
Yep.
So you don't, like, you know, you can actually just start offering both with a whole open heart without any predisposition to, and then edge your way into setting a different standard for your beautiful business.
That was an awesome answer. And just to give you some context of like the difference between some of these figures. For example, a $5,000 product on finance is roughly about $34 a week. And I don't know about you, but most people can afford to change their lives for $34 a week. And then when we start looking at some of the bigger amounts, like a $10,000 product, we're looking at about $53 a week. A $15,000 product, that can be as little as $60 a week. And then a $20,000 product, it's like $95 a week. So like when we start to look at this, it just creates such a window of opportunity for people that otherwise thought they couldn't start a business, change their relationship, improve their life, improve their health, like whatever it is that you specialize in. It just makes it so much more available and accessible for them to say yes, and you get paid in full, and you don't have to worry about them having paid the full amount back before the services have been received, because it's all, like as Gaby was saying, it's with the finance company. And it's all managed, and you just focus on doing what you love with them. They get to work with you in a spacious way because they're not worrying about when their next payment's coming out, and they're not sitting in a false sense of security. So their nervous system's in a space where they can fully receive from you. They're not stressed, because one of the biggest things that I see people blocking themselves in receiving is when they're stressed around money. The cortisol goes up, and you might have the best program in the world, but if they're stressed, they can't receive from you, and they're not going to show up.
Not fully.
Not fully.
Yeah, and then for some people, there's a subconscious, this is kind of cool, there's actually a subconscious blocker for some people, and a lot of people, that if they haven't paid for your program up front, or if they're on a longer payment plan, then the deliverables, this is not conscious, subconsciously, through the law of giving and receiving, they're not going to embody the change that you gave them until they've paid the last cent on the program. Yeah, with a finance company, that doesn't happen, because they relate to it differently. They've already paid for the product. They're paying the finance company back for the money, not for the program. And so that's where and then they can actually receive the frequencies that you're sharing and all the change so much faster, embody it, lasting change, which is, if you're like us and you actually are here to serve at the highest, it's so wonderful to know that we're supporting people to receive the gifts that we are here to share at a high level. You know?
Absolutely. That's where the change is. And we've seen that. Like, we've literally seen that. And the amount of times that I have had clients come through where they've borrowed $20,000 and then 3 months later had their first $157,000 a month cash received and then paid off the whole thing, and it happens really quickly, and like because they've allowed themselves to fully receive what you're giving them, because there's none of these subconscious undertones in there, and it just makes it so much more powerful.
And finally, if it's okay for me to share,
of course.
So because I do work with, I also work and support a lot of coaches and a lot of just a lot of beautiful mission souls in powerful new earth businesses and beyond. And over the years, we've had so many of these beautiful souls come to Cal and take this shift, and I can't even, there's too many case studies, there's too many to mention, struggling to make ends meet, cash flow roller coasters, and by embodying this, by actually taking the shift of having this be the standard of it's this much up front or this much on finance, and keeping the internal payment plans more as a only if needed, everything shifted, and now they are abundant, now they're able to serve, and now they're enjoying their businesses so much more. So I wanted to share that because it's not just me. Kelly's got so many.
There's over 200 people that we support now.
Yeah.
And it's quite a lot. And we're doing over anywhere between, on a slow month, maybe 600 to good months, $1.2 million a month in education programs and New Earth development and ascension. And this is huge. And every time we finance, the brokerage is set up in a way that it's really a New Earth filter for 3D money, because we're taking 3D money, we're filtering it back through the brokerage and releasing it in its true, most natural form, which is abundance, play, co-creation, expansion. And every time somebody who is using this for education or a New Earth business, we're continually anchoring the New Earth frequency and what it is that we're wanting to create. So it's like this continuous thing that keeps feeding itself, and the more that we anchor into the New Earth frequency and the more that we embrace these new ways of doing things, the quicker we create a collective shift into the realities that we're really wanting to live in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you are invited.
Yes, so if you've loved what we've shared, and whether it's something, you're wanting some assistance with your business and guidance with your business, Gabby is definitely the girl you want to be talking to, or woman. You're definitely not a girl.
I could be a girl.
You can be all girl, but I think you're so much more all woman and queen. Or if you're not using finance, you'd like to explore a little bit about how finance could help you with your mission and help your clients and help you grow and scale to that next level, feel free to get in contact. There will be a link somewhere above below. And yeah, let's have a chat. Let's see what we can do together, and let's change the world for better.
Yes. Because the more beautiful New Earth leaders out there that have abundance, the faster we get to build a world that, well, just blows all of our minds.
And abundance is our birthright, and this really supports that.
Yeah. Mwah. Much love.
Mwah.